Ready for a total mind better?
Always.
Okay, good. Because today we're diving deep, deep into Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, the site that's seriously shaking up how we think about, well, history itself. Picture this. Huge, and I mean huge E, intricately carved stone structures built by hunter-gatherers.
Now that's what I call a head-scratcher.
Seriously. We're talking thousands of years before, what we usually consider the start of organized societies. No agriculture, no pottery, heck, not even the wheel yet.
It's like finding a smartphone in a Roman ruin. Completely out of place, but incredibly intriguing.
Exactly. And the kicker. We've got piles of archaeological reports, analyses, even some wild theories linking this place to, wait for it, a possible comet impact.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
So strap in, because today we're exploring the layout, those mysterious T-shaped pillars, the animal carvings, the whole shebang. You game.
Let's do it. I've been waiting to geek out about Göbekli Tepe.
Awesome. Let's get to it then. First things first. Göbekli Tepe is basically flipping our textbook view of Neolithic revolution on its head.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You see, we're talking complex structures. I mean, these huge T-shaped pillars, a level of social organization that no one thought possible for hunter-gatherers. It's like, hold on, what did we miss?
Right. I mean, 10th millennium BC, that's the ballpark we're playing in here. This isn't just a bunch of rocks haphazardly piled up, is it?
No way. We're talking about meticulously planned enclosures. Some are over 20 meters across. And we're not talking small pebbles here. These pillars weigh tons, literal tons each.
Wow.
And here's the real mind blower. There's no sign of houses, no living spaces at Göbekli Tepe. Not a single one.
Okay, so if people weren't living there, what in the world was going on?
Well, the construction itself, so precise and planned, plus the lack of dwellings, it's a big flashing sign pointing to ritual.
Ritual.
This was a gathering spot, a place for ceremonies, maybe ancestor worship, shamanistic practices, who knows, but definitely ritual.
Interesting. And they didn't just pack up and leave when they were done, did they?
Not quite. It's like they intentionally buried these enclosures, sealing them with debris, artifacts, everything.
Like they were hiding something. Or protecting it.
Preserving something sacred, perhaps. Or maybe marking a major event. Whatever it was, that deliberate backfilling adds a whole other layer of mystery to this place.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about those iconic T-shaped pillars. They're really like nothing else found at other early Neolithic sites. What's the story there?
The detail, man. The detail. That's what gets me. Arms, hands, belts, even loincloths, all carved in relief. They're almost human-like, but here's the thing. No faces.
No faces. Spooky. So not quite human then. Are we talking like representations of something beyond the human realm? Ancestral spirits? Deities?
That's a pretty popular interpretation. And there are these two central pillars in each enclosure, taller than the rest. Could be twins, symbolizing some kind of important duality, like a good and evil, life and death. Mythology loves those dualities.
Right. Okay, now there are these two specific pillars, Pillar 43 and Pillar 33. They seem to be key players in this whole enigma.
Oh, yeah. Pillar 43 is particularly interesting. It's got this carving of a headless man, often seen as a symbol of, well, death. But then there's also a disc symbol on it. Some researchers believe it's the summer solstice sun, placed within the Sagittarius constellation.
Wait a minute. Are you saying they were tracking solstices back then?
That's the theory. And get this. Using this concept called precession, they've linked Pillar 43 to a date around 10,950 BC.
Now, for those of us who aren't astronomers, what exactly is precession? How does that work?
Okay, so imagine a spinning top, right? But it's wobbling a little as it spins.
Got it.
That's kind of what the Earth does, but over a super long time. That wobble, that's precession. And it causes the position of the stars to shift very, very gradually from our perspective here on Earth.
So, like, the stars we see now aren't in the exact same place they were thousands of years ago.
Yeah, precisely. So by understanding precession, you can actually calculate what the night sky looked like way back when. It's like astronomy time travel.
That's incredible. So they're using astronomy as a time machine. Amazing. And you said that date, 10,950 BC, is pretty close to something big, right?
You're talking about the Younger Dryas impact. It's a pretty controversial theory, but it suggests that pieces of a comet smashed into Earth around 10,870 BC. And we're not talking just a few little pebbles here. This impact is thought to have caused massive environmental changes.
And the fact that Göbekli Tepe is smack dab in a potential impact zone makes that theory even more, well, juicy, doesn't it?
You bet. Oh, and then there's Pillar 33, which throws another log on the fire. It's got these carvings of snakes. Some researchers believe they could represent the torrid meteor stream, basically debris from the same comet that might have caused the Younger Dryas impact.
Hold on. So are you saying they might have been documenting a comet impact
Well,
on these pillars?
right.
That's pretty advanced for hunter-gatherers.
It definitely challenges our assumptions about them, doesn't it? I mean, it suggests they were paying close attention to the sky, connecting celestial events to what was happening down here on Earth.
This is wild. It's like they're talking to us across time through these carvings, giving us a peek into how they understood the world.
And that's just the beginning. We've got so much more to uncover at Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, so we've got the pillars. Now, what about those incredible animal reliefs? I mean, they're so lifelike. They're almost like photos of the animals from that time. We're talking gazelles, wild cattle, boar, foxes, birds, all meticulously carved.
The artistry is mind-blowing, isn't it?
Absolutely. But it's not just a random animal collection, right?
Nope, not at all.
You mentioned earlier that some of the animals could actually be linked to constellations. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, it seems like they were weaving their understanding of the cosmos into the animals they hunted. It's like a celestial tapestry. For example, there's a scorpion carved near that sun symbol we talked about on Pillar 43. And there's a bird of prey that some people think resembles Sagittarius.
Fascinating. So it's like they're telling a story using the language of the stars.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've got these intricate pillars, realistic animal carvings, all within this ritual site. It's almost like there are layers upon layers of meaning here just waiting to be deciphered.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes Göbekli Tepe so captivating. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface.
Well, I am officially hooked.
Good. Because there's more.
Oh, there's more.
So much more. Like those life-size human heads.
The heads, right. They're so realistic, all male, too.
Okay.
How do those fit in with the T-shaped pillars and animal reliefs?
Well, they're a pretty striking contrast to those more impersonal T-shaped pillars, wouldn't you say? We know that skull cults, where people venerated skulls, were a thing in the Neolithic period. So maybe these heads were guardians, protecting the sacred space, or maybe even representations of important figures.
Like ancestors. Or leaders?
Could be. But the exact purpose, how they relate to the pillars, that's still a bit of a head-scratcher, pun intended.
Huh. Okay, so we've got these intricate pillars, realistic animal carvings, and then, bam, these lifelike human heads, all within this ritualistic site. It's almost like an archaeological turducken, layers upon layers of meaning to uncover.
You got that right. And we can't forget about those porthole stones, you know.
Portal stones.
Yeah, those large stones with rectangular holes right in the middle. Some even have animal carvings on them. They're all over the place at Göbekli Tepe. Inside the enclosures, outside, it's like a scavenger hunt.
What were they for? Some kind of door, window. A symbolic gateway, maybe?
Honestly, we're not really sure. Could be symbolic gateways, ritual objects, even structural elements. We just don't know yet. There's still so much to discover about Göbekli Tepe.
Seems like for every answer we get, we just end up with more questions.
That's archaeology for you. Always another layer to peel back. But hey, that's what makes it so exciting. Keeps us on our toes. Speaking of exciting, let's circle back to that Younger Dryas impact theory for a sec. You mentioned it was a bit controversial. Why is that?
Yeah, it definitely sounded like a hot topic in the research.
Well, for starters, not everyone's convinced that a comet impact even happened. Some scientists say the evidence, like that platinum layer found in the Greenland ice sheet, could have other explanations.
So there's debate about whether the impact itself occurred. But what about the connection to Göbekli Tepe specifically? What's the chatter there?
That's where things get really interesting. Even if we say, okay, the impact probably happened, some researchers still aren't sold on the Göbekli Tepe link. They say the symbolism, like that headless man on Pillar 43, could mean something completely different. We just don't know for sure.
Okay, so a lot of different interpretations floating around. But just for a minute, let's say, for argument's sake, that Göbekli Tepe was built as a response to this catastrophic event. What would that tell us about those early hunter-gatherers?
It would be pretty mind-blowing, wouldn't it? I mean, we're talking about more than just sophisticated astronomical observations. It suggests a deep, deep understanding of their place in the cosmos. Maybe even a concept of collective trauma, a shared memory of this event that changed their world forever, passing those stories down through generations.
Wow, like a message through time, a warning maybe, about how fragile our existence really is.
It really makes you think. And it highlights how powerful storytelling, myths, all of that really is. We humans, we've always tried to make sense of the world, find meaning in the chaos, And at Göbekli Tepe, well, it might be one of the earliest examples of that, of us trying to understand, trying to make sense of it all.
It's incredible. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the Younger Dryas impact theory, but it's just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
What about the other mysteries of Göbekli Tepe? Like, what can this place tell us about the social structure of those hunter-gatherers? How do they live?
Now, there's the million-dollar question.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, we just don't have all the answers yet. Remember those smaller rectangular rooms we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, those are from a later construction phase at Göbekli Tepe. They hint at how things evolved at the site over time.
How so?
These rooms, they're more enclosed, intimate, they've still got those T-shaped pillars, but they're smaller than the ones in the earlier enclosures. Could mean they shifted how they did their rituals, maybe moving towards smaller, more private ceremonies. It's like following the evolution of a species, but in architecture.
It's like Göbekli Tepe itself was a living thing, constantly changing and adapting. Okay, so the site changed over time, but what about those early hunter-gatherers who built those first enclosures?
Yeah.
How did they manage something so massive? Was there, like, a boss, a leader calling the shots?
Well, some researchers lean towards that theory, the hierarchy theory. The scale of Göbekli Tepe, the complexity, they say, it points to some kind of leadership, a way to organize all that labor.
Makes sense. But couldn't it have been more of a collective effort? Maybe a shared belief system? A powerful desire to connect with something bigger than themselves that drove them to work together?
Oh, absolutely. We see examples of that throughout history, egalitarian societies achieving incredible things. The real puzzle is cracking the code, understanding what made them tick, what social mechanisms allowed them to cooperate like that. That's what we're trying to figure out at Göbekli Tepe.
So, are there any hints at the site itself that might point us in one direction or the other? Any clues to support the hierarchy view or the egalitarian view?
Well, those life-size human heads we talked about, they might offer a clue. Remember, they're all realistically depicted, all male. Some researchers think they might represent individuals who held a special status, maybe ancestors or even leaders.
So those heads could be a sign of social hierarchy. Interesting.
Maybe, but it's important not to project our own modern ideas onto the past. Who knows? Maybe those heads meant something totally different to them. Guardians of the sacred space, symbols of masculine energy. We need more evidence before we can say for sure.
Right, right. It seems like we always come back to this idea that there's so much we just don't know yet about Göbekli Tepe. It's like we're trying to read a language from a lost civilization, but we're missing half the alphabet.
That's the beauty of it. It's an ongoing puzzle. We're constantly piecing together the evidence, analyzing the symbolism, comparing it to other sites, all to try and understand the minds of those who built this extraordinary place.
It really is like a detective story, but one that spans thousands of years. So what's next? What can archaeologists do to solve this mystery?
Well, excavations are still going strong. Every season brings new finds. They're using all sorts of cool technology to map what's beneath the surface, revealing hidden structures we never even knew existed.
Just more enclosures, more pillars, more clues waiting to be uncovered.
You got it. And the artifacts that have already been excavated, those are treasure troves of information. Scientists are studying animal bones, flint tools, even pieces of stone vessels.
To learn what?
To learn about their daily lives, what they ate, the tools they used, even their trade networks. It's all there, hidden in the dirt.
I'm guessing DNA analysis could be a game changer too, right?
Absolutely. Ancient DNA analysis has come a long way. Researchers can now trace the genetic ancestry of these early populations, learn about their origins, where they migrated from, how they were connected to other groups. It's like we're looking directly into the past.
It sounds like we're on the brink of some major breakthroughs when it comes to understanding Göbekli Tepe.
We really are. And the more we learn about this site, the more we learn about ourselves, It's a reminder that we're part of something much bigger, connected to these ancient people who looked up at the same stars, wondered about the same things we do. Life, death, the universe.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? To realize that so much of what makes us human, our curiosity, our creativity, our search for meaning, it all has roots going back thousands of years.
It really is. And that's the magic of Göbekli Tepe. It's a bridge between our world and the deep past. And as we keep exploring it, who knows what other secrets it might reveal.
So where do we go from here? What are the most exciting areas of research right now? What are you most excited about?
Well, one area that's really heating up is the relationship between Göbekli Tepe and other early Neolithic sites in the region. We've talked about it, but it wasn't the only place where they were building these monumental structures.
Right, Nevalajori, and there were others too, weren't there?
Exactly. Karahan Tepe, Sayunu, all fascinating sites. And by comparing them, archaeologists are starting to piece together a bigger picture, understanding the social, cultural, and religious landscape of that era.
So instead of looking at Göbekli Tepe in isolation, we're zooming out, seeing it as part of a larger network.
Precisely. And when we zoom out even further, we can start exploring connections to later developments in human history. It's all connected.
So are you saying that Göbekli Tepe could hold clues to the origins of civilization itself?
Some researchers believe that's a real possibility. They argue that the rituals, the social organization, even the astronomical knowledge and artistic expression we see at Göbekli Tepe, it all laid the groundwork for more complex societies to emerge.
So Göbekli Tepe wasn't just some random spot. It might have been a catalyst for change, a seed that eventually grew into the civilizations we know today.
It's a bold idea, but the more we uncover at Göbekli Tepe, the more plausible it seems.
This is incredible. It's
Uh-huh.
completely changing how we think about the past, our place in the grand scheme of things.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else don't we know?
Right. Like, was there something special about the location itself? I mean, it's on a hilltop, looking out over the landscape. They didn't just pick that spot randomly, did they?
Oh no. Placement of these Neolithic sites, it was very intentional. They chose spots with symbolic meaning, places connected to the cosmos. These were people who lived in tune with nature. Their spiritual beliefs, they were tied to their understanding of the world around them.
So the landscape, it becomes part of the ritual, part of the experience. The hills, the sky, the stars.
Exactly. And these sites were used for generations, sometimes even thousands of years. That tells you how important they were. They were hubs, for the community, places to celebrate, to mourn, to connect with ancestors.
A way to feel connected to something larger than themselves in a world that could be pretty harsh.
That's a great way to put it. And that need for connection, for meaning, especially when things are tough, it's something we see throughout history. You look at sacred spaces today, temples, churches, mosques, even monuments and memorials. They all serve that same purpose, bringing people together, offering comfort, reminding us that we're not alone.
Makes you think. Maybe we've lost touch with that a little in our modern world. That connection to nature, to the cosmos, to something bigger than ourselves.
It's a good question to ask ourselves, isn't it? We're so disconnected from the natural world now. Our rituals, our beliefs, they become more individual, less about community. Maybe sites like Göbekli Tepe can remind us of the power of shared experiences, of rituals that bring us together, of that connection between us and the universe.
It's like a reminder of something we've forgotten, something ancient within us. As we wrap up our deep dive into Göbekli Tepe, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all this?
Göbekli Tepe, it's more than just an archaeological site. It's a testament to human ingenuity, to creativity, to resilience. It shows us that even when things were tough, our ancestors achieved incredible things. And that legacy, it still impacts us today.
It's a story that's still unfolding, a mystery with more chapters to come.
Exactly. And as we learn more, we might find that Göbekli Tepe has things to teach us, not just about the past, but about the future, too. Maybe those hunter-gatherers looking up at the stars thousands of years ago, maybe they understood something we're just starting to grasp now.
Maybe they knew how to live in balance with nature, how to build strong communities, things we could learn from today.
Exactly.
So could Göbekli Tepe, this site that might have been a reaction to a comet impact, hold lessons for us about how to face future challenges, about human resilience? It's a question we're thinking about. And hey, we've provided a bunch of sources so you can keep exploring on your own. Until next time, keep those minds curious.